Welcome to Just the Discs. My name's Brian Sauer. I am the host of the show. We talk about physical media here. I am honored to have two gentlemen joining me. Both are big physical media people. I have Jesse Nelson from Diabolic DVD and Cauldron Films, and Brian Izzi from Cauldron Films as well. Hello, gentlemen.
How's it going?
Hello.
Good to have you. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Uh,
Brian.
let's talk
Yeah, thanks for
about,
having us.
Jesse, I'm a huge supporter of Diabolic. You're a huge supporter of mine, and I appreciate that. We haven't talked on my show specifically about how Cauldron really came together with Brian in attendance. So, can you talk about how this came together and kind of like what you guys do individually for the label, like how it works, how you divide the labor, etc.
Yeah. The story of Cauldron goes like this. Brian and I are friends from the
Like,
business.
yeah, probably going back to like 2012, maybe 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And whenever he was in the area, we would hang out. And then we started doing conventions. So I'm in Philadelphia and Brian was in the Boston area. Now we both live right outside of Philly here. And we started working conventions together. He would just come and hang out and help me do conventions. And one day, probably Brian, right at Cinema Wasteland, we
yeah,
we started discussing why don't we do some movies? We could probably do this.
yeah,
Nice,
And
yeah,
that's literally where it was born.
nice. I love
yeah.
it.
It kind of came from a wish list too. I mean, we just had this list of films that we were really looking forward to coming out, and some oddball stuff. And actually, many of them we've been able to release through Cauldron, which is really cool. But also to that, I mean, I would come down to help just to see where Diabolic has gone since the early days as well. I mean, I think one of the first trips down to hang out with Jesse, I came to help him ship, and they were shipping off of his porch. I mean, they didn't even have like
Oh,
a small warehouse yet. So we were
yeah.
doing, I think, the first big pre-order that was like Pieces or something. Everyone was going nuts for Pieces on Blu-ray.
Oh
So
my gosh.
yeah, it's really come a long way. And yeah, so we said, let's give it a shot.
Well,
You just reminded me too that the pieces we sold the cult collectibles um Lucio Fulci bobblehead with that. I think wasn't that part of that? And we had to pack them all together.
Well, that was the Cat in the Brain.
Oh, it was Cat in the Brain.
Pieces had the
Yeah.
infamous puzzle that everyone
The
wanted.
infamous
So
puzzle.
yeah,
Yes. Oh
yes,
my
yeah.
God.
I think that was the first. That was kind of like maybe a flashpoint when boutique Blu-ray was really starting to take off. I think it was really
Yeah.
like yeah, yeah.
we're talking about the
But
Grindhouse discs.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Great
yeah,
stuff. Great stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, those are huge.
Fantastic.
Have them all in my
Terrific.
collection. Love what they're doing. That Hollywood 90028 is fantastic. They continue to do great stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
just picked that up. Have not watched it yet though.
oh, dude, I don't want to get too far down it, but like the ending of that movie is just nuts. Just
Amazing.
absolutely amazing stuff. Anyway,
Cool.
so that's awesome. I love that that's sort of how organically how it came together. That's pretty neat. So you guys are how many releases do you have at this point, not counting the box set? Best
Um,
best guess.
from Cauldron
Yeah.
proper, like not Neon Eagle, I think somewhere in the 20, around 20. And then you got to add in the variants, the retail editions, and all that stuff. But probably, I think around 20.
Nice, nice.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
the one of the reasons we're here today is to talk about this Houses of Doom. This is your first box set. I'm correct, right?
Yes, it is.
Actual
That's
box set.
correct.
Yep.
Now, how does this come together? Oh, here's another question, and I kind of know the answer, but I'd love to hear you guys explain it. Like, how are these films related? The Houses of Doom films. How are they all? Why are they together in this set?
Well, it's a good story, and there's also a segue into this. So that the Houses of Doom are later 80s Italian horror movies that Lucio Fulci and Umberto Lenzi were tapped to make them for Italian television. And the story goes that when they finally handed them in, they thought that they were too much for TV. I mean, I don't know why you hire Lucio Fulci to make a TV movie, but
I
um,
know. I know.
yeah. So they kind of went into obscurity, and put them on the shelf. And then years later, they popped up on DVD. I'm sorry, I'm going to have a dog barking here because the dog lives here.
It's all good.
And so, for a long time, they were on nothing but DVD. And I think that even in the US was only the Fulci movies made their way to DVD. The Lenzi ones never even showed up at all.
Never showed up, no.
Yeah, the other four, all four of them were available in the UK on the infamous Vipco label.
Yeah. So I think I know that House of Clocks was on our initial list of films we'd like to put out. So I think it came across all as one package because they were all made to be seen at one time on television. So when they became available, we had to jump on it.
No, it's great. So, that's very cool. That's what I thought was the story, and I find it fascinating. Yeah. Like you said, Jesse, why do you hire these guys to make TV movies? And they do exactly, you watch them, and I've watched all four of them, and they're doing what they do. This is exactly what they do, and so you shouldn't be surprised at all that they maybe are a little too much for television, ultimately. But we benefit from that, ultimately, so that's fine with me.
Yeah,
totally.
It's too bad that they dropped into obscurity. It's so cool that you guys did this set. Now, how long was this in the works? How much time goes into acquiring the rights and the restorations? Now, Brian, you do the restoration work yourself. Is that correct?
I do a lot of it myself. I also oversee with other labs. We have, additional support because it is really just Jesse and I running Cauldron. So, but yeah, I did, oversaw the entire thing. And, they were just 35 millimeter negatives. They're shot on 16, but they were finished on 35 because they all have optical effects baked into them and things like that. So yeah, as far as how long it took, I think originally we were going to, when we first got the rights to them, we weren't quite box set ready as a company. It's a big thing to do a box set. So we were originally going to do, I think we were going to do them individually, like do maybe like House of Clocks and House of Lost Souls, and then maybe 8 months, a year later, do the other two. And then we sort of soft announced it, and most people, the feedback was do it as a box. And it really makes sense as a box because they literally are meant to go together. So it's actually been in progress for it took over 2 years, but that's because two of the titles were essentially done for a little while. But yeah, it was quite a long task. And then we had, I got to shout out to Eugenio Ercolani, who got all the extras for us out in Rome, and he's been really helpful. Yeah. So,
and he's on the commentary with Haworth and why am I blanking right now? Who's on House of Clocks?
It's Nathaniel Thompson.
Nathaniel, of course. Nathaniel Thompson. Yeah. Really neat track. I was listening to that right before jumping on here. Good stuff as always from those guys. But yeah, a ton of extra stuff on these. Do you guys have favorites? I'm just curious if there's a favorite in the group for you guys.
Jesse, what do you have?
I really liked, I have a soft spot for any movie that's got witches and old hags in them. So I really like the House of Witchcraft. It may not be the best one of the four, but I really enjoyed that one.
No, it's cool. What about you, Brian?
Well, I would say the House of Lost Souls is my favorite of a surprise. I'd seen it before from a DVD, but I'd say House of Clocks and House of Lost Souls. House of Lost Souls is just really fun. It's interesting because that one it's almost like Lenzi doing Fulci a little bit.
Well, and he's also doing they're doing The Shining, right? I mean, it feels like The Shining.
It's got some of that too, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a cool one because it's like geology students on their way back from something come across this abandoned hotel, seemingly abandoned hotel, and they stay there, and there's ghosts. There's that one scene with the shower where I'm like, he's fully doing The Shining, which is fine because totally. It's never like, that's one of the things I love about the Italians is when they do stuff, you can feel it, but they're also putting it in this Italian blender, and it just comes out in this weird, wonderdon't way.
That's a good way of putting it. That entire box is like an Italian blender. I mean, if you like this stuff, it's so fun from the beginning to end. I don't always try to sell films on people, but I think if you like this era of Italian horror movies, this box is kind of just delivers, each film, and the soundtracks are great too.
Yeah. That's part of the Italian blender, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of the blender.
Soundtrack, the shithead kids.
Dude, hey, you know what? I don't know if it's my favorite, but I really like Sweet House of Horrors. Like that was the one for me that
Yeah.
those kids, I don't know. They're like Statler and Waldorf or something. They're like just through that movie, they're just like commenting on crap and just like
Yeah.
giving people a hard time. And of course, it's that classic thing where they dub them with the weird adult voices, which
Yeah.
I kind of adore it at this point. Like it's gone past. My podcast partner Elmer Kane used to always complain about House by the Cemetery and Bob in that, and at this point, I just absolutely kind of love it. Like
I mean, it's the charm of that movie.
Yeah, totally.
I can't watch that movie except in English because it's the way I love it.
Oh yeah, and the kids are just so much. I mean, for those who don't know, it's like about these parents who are horribly killed in a like home invasion, and then the kids are sent off to live with like some friends or some aunt and uncle, I can't remember which, and then they start seeing the parents first as like floating flames
Yeah.
and then they see them as like apparitions, but the whole time they're always like commenting on stuff, and it just was so funny and so entertaining.
You're totally right. It's a funny movie, and a lot of Fulci has a lot of black humor in it. That movie is hilarious, especially towards the end. I mean, it just gets really wacky and out there. But that's a strange one because it's almost like a kids movie, but it does have some adult humor in it.
Yes.
But then the gore is like ridiculously out there. You know, it's really, really nasty.
No, I would sell it as a Fulci swing at a kids movie, and I really think that's kind of what it is. And that's
I think
you get what you think that is, really, kind of, in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy that did the subtitles for it, for the Italian translation, said it was like a Goosebumps episode, but for adults.
There you go.
Which I could say.
That's good. Yeah.
With that. Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorites. But House of Clocks is definitely interesting because it has a time element to it where you have this house with clocks that go backwards, and so what's interesting about it is it's not a traditional time bounce where you have everybody's reset. Like for weird Italian reasons, only certain parts of the house are reset and certain characters are reset, and it's got that weird Italian dream logic that you're just like, wait a minute, why are the burglars not affected by the time bound? Okay, whatever, I'm gonna go with it, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with it. But yeah, that one is really interesting, definitely the one that stood out to me. But there, like you say, it's a great blender mix of Italian horror, and if you're into it, I can't see you not digging this box. So, really fun stuff and tons of extras. Now, how many soundtracks are included in here? I forget.
Two of them.
House of Clocks has one, and what else has one?
Sweet House of Horrors.
Sweet House, nice.
The two Fulcis. It's Vince Tempera.
Nice.
The soundtracks of those.
Very nice.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, we dug those out because they had never been released before on anything.
Oh wow, the soundtracks never had. I didn't know that.
No. Those two had no. I think, Jesse, we got those through Beat. I think Beat Records. They went to their archives and found them for us, which is awesome.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, because we always want to put the soundtrack out if we can, especially with the Italian horror movies and genre movies. The soundtracks are so good. So
yeah, no, they're wonderful. That's another key part of the melting pot is the soundtracks and the composers. There's so many interesting composers doing lots of cool stuff. I mean, Morricone gets talked about a lot, but there's so many other ones that if you start digging into horror that they're using that all do really interesting work, and it all adds to that atmosphere that we love if you love these kind of movies, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
No, that's super cool that you guys did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. I think these movies all got a really bad rap because well, first of all, I people tend to dismiss this era of Italian horror, which is a mistake because it's crazy. But also the movies have always looked bad. They've always the releases look like garbage. So I think everyone kind of dismissed these as shot for TV. They don't look good. They're not gory, and it's all just wrong.
Yeah. And these are great restorations, by the way. I really love the restoration work you guys did or had done. These, I mean, I've only seen House of Clocks prior to this, and it was ridiculous the difference between what I saw and which was probably like maybe it was a DVD rip. I don't know.
Probably a DVD, yeah.
But yeah, this stuff just looks so good. It's it's right up there with, any Italian Blu-ray release that you've seen. It just really helps the movies, present themselves in the best way possible. You guys just did such a nice job with it. So
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Brian's being modest because, when he says we send some of it out, that's true, but Brian oversees it all. I mean,
Yeah, I
nothing,
mean, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
it's true.
the sound, the video, the packaging, and
Yeah,
everything filtered through Brian's fingers. So
yeah. I'm sure it would probably take two podcasts worth of time, but I could go down each disc and who did what. But yeah, I definitely, we even when we work with remote people, I'm overseeing it all remotely and in the cloud, and giving notes back and forth and everything like that. But we do a ton in-house still, just to get more releases out. We kind of had to spread out to using some more support labs and stuff like that. But like for this one, though, I definitely went the extra mile. I think it comes down to working on the movies that we love, and I think we put some extra restoration work into movies that maybe other people may not, based on budgeting. But these are movies, we're picking movies we really love to work with, and so we just treat them all the same. They're all Suspiria to us. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, we spent extra time with the audio remastering on this as well, because I really think the soundtracks are really great. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, they sound great. I definitely should have indicated too that they sound great as well as looking great. So you guys just did a great job with this. So just so I understand, so Brian, it sounds like Jesse, how involved in the day to day of, I know you've got a lot going on with Diabolik. That's enough to occupy anybody. So how much are you able to be involved in the Cauldron stuff? And it sounds like Brian's ending up doing a ton of the stuff because there's just only so much time that you have, I would imagine.
Well, Brian does most of the day-to-day stuff. When it comes to making sure that things are, here in the warehouse and checked in and shipping out and getting the discs made, that's all where I step in.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's big stuff. I got it.
And the basics though it's really truly split down the middle. Like, as far as acquiring films and hunting them, that's probably the most fun for me and Jesse. It's like just two buddies hanging out, like trading Blu-rays. It's like we're hunting these movies down, and so we both kind of share acquisition and licensing duties, but we always can come together to be sure that we both have to like them, and we both and once we set forth on like an acquisition, we both work pretty close together to make sure they all work. But yeah, we split our duties because there's no way we could, like, only one of us could do that. I mean, I couldn't only be doing that. So, but yeah, day to day, that's pretty much what I do from when I get up till I'm done with my day, is working on Cauldron. And my other business, which is I do, restorations and Blu-ray authoring and things like that. So, but Cauldron takes up most of my time for sure.
Very cool. Well, congrats on, 20 plus films. It's really, really cool that you guys have come that far in not a long time, really a ton of releases in a short amount of time, ultimately. And I know it's a lot. The other thing is that, you guys, especially Jesse, deals with collectors intimately and knows, but what I love about them, and to be fair, like, I was naive about it too, in some ways, until I started to talk to my friend Jonathan Hertzberg about running his label Fun City Editions and getting really into the nitty gritty of like how much stuff there is to deal with and the costs of all those things and how hard it is to put out a nice looking, like this, just for instance, this box is a really nice sturdy box. And I know this wasn't cheap. I know that's not a cheap thing, but that's something the collectors take for granted. That's just the box, right? And they kind of take for granted that kind of thing is expensive. And even just like belly bands, like, I know this doesn't seem like a lot, but to have to run off a bunch of these is expensive, on top of the authoring costs and all the cases and all that stuff. And it bums me out because there's so many complaints from people without really knowing just how much work is involved. So I just have to say my hat's off to you guys, because I have some sense of how much work is involved, and it's a lot of work.
It is.
And what's notable about these films in particular is, you can look in the back of Brian's office here and see all these fantastic Italian posters. Because these things were dumped to obscurity, they never made posters for them.
Oh, wow.
There was never that, we had all the artwork on all four movies and the case made custom and the logo.
Yeah, that's true. It's worth name dropping while we're
Yeah.
talking about that. That Matthew Therian did all the painting for each individual cover. Like as
Wow.
Jesse's saying, there were never posters made, so we couldn't even rely on any archival artwork. And so Matthew Therian did all of the paintings, which are brilliant. And then another designer we work with all the time, Eric Adrian Lee, he's so good at logo work. So we hired him to do all the custom logos because logos were never made for these movies officially. So yeah, it really is. The whole thing was a labor of love, but it's because we kind of want to buy it in the way that we wish it would be sold to us by another company. So yeah, and as far as packaging, I mean, that's another thing Jesse and I will, and it's cool that you appreciate all that because we have to dial into like the bandolier and what size it will be and exactly the box. I mean, every little thing and just getting the right, setting up the packaging for any possible next box sets we're going to do. It just, so it takes, there was no stone unturned to get this thing to look the way we wanted it. But I think it comes down to, at the core that Jesse and I are still we're just excited about it. And there are movies we really love. And again, as collectors, we want them to look like this as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful presentation. Go ahead, Jesse. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is kind of the beauty of Cauldron is we haven't bought anything to release that we're not into. We're not gonna shit a product out just because it's available for us. And that's not hey, listen, I'm not saying that as a slight to anybody because there's tons of product into each his own, but we just want to we want to focus on the things that we're the most interested in.
I respect that. And it definitely shows in the care that's taken for this episode. But that's so crazy about, and another thing people should understand, like no artwork, that's just nuts. I wouldn't,
this is all,
I wouldn't put that together.
Can you bleep the name of the artists? Because I don't want anyone to take those two guys from us.
Okay.
That's a joke. I'm just kidding.
No.
Okay.
Please give those guys work. They're amazing.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, beautiful work all around, but obviously there's just so much time and effort that goes into this, and it's just so this was a great learning experience, I'm sure, putting together this box set. If and maybe when you guys do another set, I'd love to see it. I hope you do.
That might be what we're going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If you're gonna air this on Black Friday, so
yes,
I guess it's next Friday.
Yes, this will air on Black Friday. So let's talk about whatever you want to talk about. Yeah.
I think it's a good segue.
Let's do it.
We're gonna use this exact packaging we were just talking about. This whole setup. We are doing Lamberto Bava's Pervito Giallo collection, which is another 4 Italian horror movies that were aired on TV. They're a little bit more standalone than the Houses of Doom, but they are collected as one collection. So we are doing that, and it's going to be up for pre-order today.
Nice.
And,
what are the titles? Because that's so deep. I don't know those titles.
Okay, so the titles are Graveyard Disturbance.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yes. Sorry, I love that movie.
Awesome. Dinner with a Vampire, The Ogre, and Until Death.
Oh wow.
And they're a little different than Houses of Doom. Houses of Doom were all kind of filmed right around the same time. These span from 87 to, I believe, 89. I don't have all my notes in front of me, but yeah, we've been working on that quietly for about a year, a little over a year now. And it's another one. It's going to be loaded with extras. We have Lamberto Bava interviewed for every film, cast and crew. We've got one soundtrack CD. We've got Simon Boswell's involvement, so we had him do an interview also. So that's it's going to sit. It's going to look just on the shelf. It'll go right next to Houses of Doom. Same exact box and everything. It'll be 4 films and
so exciting.
So do
you guys think what first quarter 2025 or
that for ship?
Yeah,
for ship. Yeah, I think we may put early quarter 2 just in case if we hit packaging issues. Like again, being a smaller company, I think and trust, I love all the other companies, so it's not a knock. But I think when other companies do 5 and 6 releases a month, way more numbers, and we kind of maybe get pushed to the back of the line once in a while. So Houses of Doom, unfortunately, took a little extra time to ship out. It was actually, it sat at the replicator for something like almost 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
A little late.
See,
so anyway,
that's another detail that people don't think about.
Yeah.
There's only so many replicators, and there's tons of labels vying for their attention.
Yeah, and we're being sorry, and we're being a pain. We have all these specific things. We want a poster. We want everything exact. So we have all these specific things that we need to hit. So yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of time, but Bravito should be all good. We had to break ground on packaging, and literally it's going to be the same setup, the same configuration. So, and that was just kind of good luck. We went looking for a few of them, a few of the films, and then the owners of the film said, well, we have all of them.
Oh, wow.
We said, well, I hope Houses of Doom does good. Let's do these too.
Well, that's exciting. That is so exciting. And thank you guys for announcing that here. I know that I know you'll announce it elsewhere too, but for me, just as a fan, like to hear that for the first time and just go, wow, okay, that's really cool. Yeah, people are going to be very jazzed about that. And I hope it does. Houses of Doom seems to be doing pretty well, isn't it, Jesse? Selling pretty well.
It's so good. Yeah. We only have, maybe about 150 copies total left out of the whole run.
Okay. Yeah. And then it goes to we don't have it completely. We'll have it up in a little while, but it will be like a sort of pared down retail version. It won't have posters. It won't have the rigid box. It won't have the CDs. But yeah, so basically when Bravito Giallo goes up for sale, anyone that hasn't picked up Houses of Doom and wants to be sure that they have the collections, you know what I mean? The limited edition versions, they should probably hop on that because as Jesse said, there's not a lot of these left.
Wow.
Guys, your shelves are going to look like shit. You have the standard Houses of Doom next to the custom limited Bravado Giallo. So you got to have, if you don't have both of them together, what are you going to do?
Exactly. Yeah. Jesse, you don't know how to play them. You know how to play them. They gotta feel it. They gotta feel it. No, that's really cool. So wow, 150 copies. Well, hopefully there'll be some still in stock when this goes live Friday. I'm hoping there'll be a couple left. But yeah, folks, definitely jump on this box. It's a great set. And again, kudos guys for all your work in putting this out. It's really special stuff. And I'm a big Cauldron fan. I just love what you guys are putting out. And so gosh, that's going to be a fun box set. I can't wait for that new one.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's going to be great.
Thank you. And really appreciate you having us on the show because I've always appreciated. I've listened to your podcast.
Oh, thank you so much.
Also,
no, it's a pleasure.
Pure Cinema as well.
Oh, so. Thank you. Thank you, man. Yeah. Now we love physical media on both shows. We definitely try to push physical media as much as we can on Pure Cinema. And I'm finding more and more that, as far in as we are, we're coming up on 7 years, I think. The more you go trying to look for the undiscovered gems, the harder it gets after 7 years. So I'm digging into like VHS now, but I'm definitely out of print DVD, but also Blu-rays that have no streaming footprint of any kind. There's just a lot of that stuff that is a great resource for people that are seeking, stuff that's not available streaming. And I think there's such a small percentage of the wonderful films that are out there are available streaming. And don't get me wrong, I like streaming, but there's so much not available that way.
Yeah. Oh, it's true. And depending on where you're watching streaming, it can look so awful.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon is like the Wild West of streaming. There's so much on there, and then you'll put something on it and it looks like someone recorded it off their TV. And then I watched Hickey and Boggs the other night. I thought I had the disc, and I went to look for the disc, and I couldn't find it. And then it's out of print, so I was like, "Oh, it's on Prime," and it looked like Kino's Master, so it was fine. But sometimes, boy, it's a chore.
Yeah, I was finding myself going to YouTube a lot for like VHS rips, and that was what finally put me off to get back into VHS collecting per se, because like I was like, I'm just sick of these pixelated rips. Like I'd rather I got a VCR, I got a TV with RCA hookups. I put in a VHS tape and it looks so much better than YouTube does. And it's just like, wow, I'm done with this stuff, man. I'm going to keep looking,
It's true. The pixelation is a problem because native VHS doesn't have that. It's standard definition. It can look washed out, but it won't. Pixelation is the worst, I think.
Yeah. Cause you lose so much detail, especially in dark scenes. Like you just cannot tell what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I almost always wait for the physical media version, unless it's only streaming, just because I like so many horror movies and they take place in the dark so many times.
That's right. No, it's true.
You see a wash of pixels everywhere. And of course, like I'm just so used to staring at stuff like that each day, so it just bothers me even more.
I'm sure, dude, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll wrap this up. I just wanted to say thanks again to you guys for coming on, and my best wishes with this new set. I hope it sells really well. People go over to, it'll be available at both Diabolik and Cauldron to pre-order, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah, 3 p.m. on Black Friday, we're going to launch that.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. That's exciting stuff. Yeah, so thank you guys, Jesse and Brian, so much for taking the time
Excellent.
and for putting together a really great box set and, continued success.
Thank you.
Forward.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. All right, everybody. We will talk to you soon more about some physical media stuff in the very near future. Thanks so much.